Hello. You have a nice sip of. Sorry, my pre-podcast sip of water.
See, a professional show would just edit all of that stuff out and start over.
That's way too much work.
Exactly.
Hello and welcome to the Comixpiracy, episode 550 for the week of July 5th, 2022. My name is Ryan Higgins, who's here this week with me.
Brock Sager.
And Kevin.
Hello.
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 Yeah, it's going to be one of those months. What was last week?
You went out of town.
There was a reason. I was out. Oh yeah, that's right. I was out of town last week. This week is 4th of July, so we're recording late. Next week, we're probably moving to Tuesday, so Toby can be on to talk Thor: Love and Thunder. Hey, you remember Thor's out this weekend?
Yep.
I am so looking forward to it.
And then I'm crazy busy. And then we're gone for Comic-Con. So that week's going to be all messed up. So don't expect a regular podcast at all for the next month and a half or something like that. Just, oh my God.
Are we apologizing in advance now?
Yeah. Just don't even. July's the nightmare month.
But the important thing, Ryan, is that the quality will be A+. It's just the scheduling will be wonky.
Yeah. We always bring A+.
Always.
The highest quality
premium
recording
content, baby,
you can get. Yeah, I mean, I did rent out this entire studio for us to record, with our $10,000 mics and our just.
So why are we zooming in?
I saw my dog. You could hear licking her bowl very loudly in the background. Oh man, Tuesday recordings are tough. Oh boy, they're tough. We're gonna have 2 of them coming up for Thor and probably for Thor. We'll see. I got to see if Toby's even gonna be able to be on. If not, we can do it some other time. And Comic-Con stuff. Oh Jesus Christ, too much stuff. It's too much stuff. Hey, we're talking about comic books while we're here.
Do we though? Do we really talk about comics?
Well, con will be interesting. I'm. The more it sounds like it's going to be a total nightmare, the more I'm a little excited. After, a lot of stuff went around this weekend with Anime Expo, which is a big con down in LA, and the LA Convention Center just sucks.
Yes.
So people, I was telling people the nightmare crowds you saw more than likely were just the con having issues, not there was that many people there, or
there was that many people in the lobby of the LA Convention Center at one time. And so it looks like, holy shit, oh my God, what? But if you spread that crowd out in a convention center, nobody would think twice. Yeah,
when I saw the photos from AX, it actually did not look like it was all that busy. I was like, it looks like a normal convention. Anime Expo is huge. I don't think it was that big this year. So I would expect Comic-Con is going to be like that, where it's going to feel like there's a lot of people just because we're not used to crowds like this. But we haven't really talked about this. So as we get closer, a bunch of stuff has come out. DC and Warner Brothers they're not going to be there with a booth. Dark Horse is not going to be there. Skybound is going to be a part of Image, so they're not going to have their huge separate booth. There was someone else too. So a bunch of smaller Boom? Smaller press. No, Boom's going to be there.
Boom and Oni are still there, right?
Yeah. Most of those guys are going to be there. Marvel, nobody knows. I've not seen anyone that knows for sure exactly what Marvel's doing. And Marvel Studios is going to be at Comic-Con, despite originally there was reports that they were not. So that's interesting.
Well, they got to drop a trailer that somebody records and they take off the internet, right?
Yeah, with D23 right after. I don't know how much is going to be a Comic-Con. Maybe they'll do some stuff. Maybe Comic-Con will be the TV stuff, and D23 will be the movie stuff. I don't know. But it'll be interesting. It's going to be a very weird convention, but it should be fun. Before that, though, we have a little bit of comic book news. It's not going to be a lot. There's not a lot now. There's not going to be a lot coming up. I feel like summer months kind of dead as everyone's busy with the conventions and other stuff.
We're talking about like we got Dark Crisis, we have Flashpoint Beyond, like
stuff's out, but there's no news. Like there's comics, but everything big has already been like announced, right? So now we're in like, stuff is coming out time. Yeah, this week is very light for Marvel, but absolutely stacked from DC and Independence. So yeah, it's a huge week.
Go grab your Starhinge. Trust me.
Yeah. Liam Sharp's new Image title. Mm-hmm. It's pretty big. But Kevin, while we were on our little 1 week little break, all the news you needed broke. So I want to get your live, not 2 week late.
Exactly. We're recording this. We're just playing this segment later, but we're recording it at the announcement.
Sure. Yeah. All right. So let's make pause, no sound, so we can edit it in. All right, go.
So we are getting officially in 2022 new Miracleman from Marvel. Neil Gaiman, Mark Buckingham. We are getting Miracleman number 0, comes out in October, an anthology one-shot, which makes it sound like we're going to get more than just them working on the book. I don't think they've actually announced the full team as of this recording. I don't believe they have. So that is new Miracleman. Now that, however, is not the continuation of Silver Age and Golden Age and the stuff that he had already worked on. So are you if we get a new story by Gaiman and Buckingham, more than just the one pager, does this fulfill your requirement for the 2022
Yes.
Poll of the most unlikely thing that might happen?
And I'd like to congratulate the 45% of voters on that poll who also voted for this, because to remind everybody, the other choices were the Detective Comics before Batman, the David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad, and the McFarlane Spawn movie.
And for those last two, just an announcement or like some sort of like official.
Yeah. They didn't need to be
happening
in theaters or streaming.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so hey, you know what this means? The last 2 years, we've knocked off the two big guns off this poll: Saga and Miracleman. So I don't know what the hell the January ones. We're going to be really scraping to fill a January.
Yeah. Well, look.
Well, what I'm curious about is, as we have talked about for sure once and maybe more than once, is that so there were those issues that were sitting in the can after Eclipse folded.
Yep.
And then there was the talk of Buckingham, because his art style is so different now than it was in 1988, wanting to go back and redraw the ones that were finished.
Right.
And I don't know if that means
Silver Age.
Yeah, I don't know if that means tear them up and start from scratch or just make adjustments so that there's not a jarring continuity jump between issue, I think it would be 2 and 3 or 3 and 4, somewhere in there.
I'm pretty sure they did the first 2, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
And I think, and then there was one in the can that was done but never published.
Right. So, also in October, the Silver Age, Miracleman by Neil Gaiman and Mark Buckingham, the Silver Age will be released. I'm assuming October will be issue 1. November will be issue 2.
Is it Silver Age or Golden Age?
Silver Age. Golden Age did finish. Golden Age was the first arc.
Okay.
Yeah. So we should get, in theory, a full, complete issue of new Miracleman in December. So see if they can do it.
Correct. This is like the Doomsday Clock count.
I kind of take the 0 issue as like, well, it's something, but it's not the real book. It's a little like that one pager in Timeless. I'm like, that doesn't really count.
Right.
That's just a little like advertisement. Like, so we'll see. We'll see if we get in December. But yeah.
Wait, so you're counting the win as issue 3 is released of the Silver Age?
If 3's in December, I will accept the 0 issue as new content. Okay. Yes, but I feel like number 3 is what we're looking for, right?
Yeah, well, the thing with 1 and 2 is if you didn't grab those off the stand in '88, they will be brand new because they've never been reprinted anywhere. So technically they're not new.
Yep.
Right. So we need 3 for the poll to be accurate. Okay, got it.
I will take the 0 issue, but if we get 3 as well, then that is
it has a
content,
prelude to the new chapter. So
yeah, I don't know what the 0 issue is going to be. You know, I much like we were talking about. You know, I really don't need Miracleman and Spider-Man team up covers. You know, like nothing against any current creator. I just don't know that I need anyone else working on this book. Like,
he's going to be in the Avengers next year. What are you talking about?
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean? Look, obviously there's comparisons with Doomsday Clock and the DC stuff. And I mean, I think if Alan Moore was like, no, we're working on it, and then they were like, oh, Jeff Johns is going to do it, it'd be like, well, that's pretty shitty, right? But Miracleman, but Watchmen was so gone and done, never going to happen. Like, to me, I'm like, this is Gaiman and Buckingham. Like, just they'll do it when they do it. I don't need other people working on this before, so. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the 0 issue is. It might be interesting. I hope it is.
Well, what the 0 issue could have is, if you remember, there was that Miracleman special, I want to say 10 years ago at this point. It has the story by Morrison that Quesada drew.
Oh, yeah. Why don't it?
So what I'm meaning is that 0 issue could just, because that story is set between issues 11 and 12 of the original series. So the 0 issue could be short stories that are not necessarily tied with the Marvel universe, but just set in the Miracleman universe.
Right.
Which, please do that. Please do that instead.
Yeah. All I see is Miracleman 0 will also feature stories by the likes of Jason Aaron, Mike Carey, Ty Templeton, Ryan Stegman, and more. So the story will act as a prelude to their new chapter, which is the Silver Age. So it'll be like a
teaser.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a new story in between Golden and Silver Age. So
it'll just be a fist banging on a wall. Bang, bang, bang.
We also have before I know Kevin's gonna go. We're gonna get through some of this stuff a little quick, but I've got a big questions about some of this. I don't know that we really know what's going on yet, but I don't really know that we'll ever know. It has been one hell of a year for like the corporate end of comics, the parent companies, the people kind of behind the scenes. There's a lot of people moved. Obviously, talked about Joe Quesada leaving Marvel. Comixology, which we've talked about on and off about trying to get back to
functional,
normal. The founder, David Steinberger, left Amazon. So this was like 2 weeks ago. Didn't really get a lot of news. So he is, his tweet was, you ever gotten that promotion you always wanted, then realized, wait a minute, this isn't really what I wanted? Well, that happened to me. So I want to let everyone know I've left Amazon. So, obviously that did not work out the way, because he hadn't been in the kind of the leadership. He got bumped up from Comixology to Amazon itself, and obviously that did not really work very well. Chip Mosier, who was also a longtime employee of Comixology, left earlier this week, and so that is 2 big departures. While Comixology is flailing, trying to figure out what's going on. Basically, they're head of the company, and kind of co-heads left. So, Oni Press had. Well, let me actually save Oni to the end, because there's a lot more. Substack, which we've talked about occasionally, and
that thing still exists.
Don't want to talk about very often. Did lay off like 20% of their employees, so that's not great. They're just not getting the venture capitalist funding that they anticipated, so they're letting go a big chunk of their staff. that is the problem when you need to be funded and you don't actually have a product that's bringing in revenue. So Substack, besides, they pay out ass loads of money to journalists and writers and now comic book creators to do exclusive content for them, which sounds amazing and sounds great. And congratulations to everyone that gets paid. But I'm going to assume the business model is not sustainable because it basically is asking readers to subscribe to newsletters. And the only time I ever hear anyone talk about Substack, it's I have 40,000 unread Substack emails in my inbox. I'm sorry to everyone. I just cannot I'm never going to read any of them. I need to unsubscribe to all of them because I'm never going to read them. And social media is cool because you can sort of just freely send out little bits and little bites, and it's kind of constant. Every now and again, I'll get linked to one of Grant Morrison's newsletters, and I'm just like, click on it, and I'm just like, I see that scroll bar just getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and I'm like, sorry, Grant, I don't have time to read like a novella in the middle of my workday. I just don't. Good luck. Keep kicking ass, but I just can't read this.
See, those I read because I pay for them. But the ones that I was a free subscriber, that thing that you said about the inbox is completely true. I don't want to name the newsletters, but I would look at, they wouldn't be daily, but maybe multiple times a week. And you see it still bolded in your inbox, like it hasn't been opened. And I just look at it just like, oh my God, I had to stop.
I am subscribed to most comic creators' free newsletters, either by choice or because my email address is in Diamond's system. And so creators get access to that and just add everyone. And I open and scroll through to some degree, basically all of them, but I don't read the thing top to bottom. I'm like, okay, scroll. I'm done. It's like nothing. It's not that I don't like these creators. I do, but it's like, okay, it's promotional stuff. It's stuff it's stuff I already know about. There's nothing in there that I really need.
Stuff that you saw on Twitter, or
it's just Graham McMillan does he's a journalist, and he does a pretty brief once a week sort of one big topic newsletter outside of Substack. It's a different platform. And I usually do read that because it is researched and thought out. It's not pitching something. It is a comic related news story that he sort of goes in on over the week. I think it's very good, and that's exactly the type of thing that I care about. Now, maybe you do. Maybe you're like, oh, I get 40 of these, and I read every single thing top to bottom. That's awesome. But I don't know. I really question how much money they're willing to get in people subscribing to these, especially if it's just doing what Kevin says, clogging up your inbox. You never read them. What do you subscribe to? Him? Snyder? Didn't you and Toby?
Yeah, but I don't
like a 1 year.
Yeah,
or Toby did, right?
Yeah, I did it. So Morrison's the only one right now I pay for. The BKV one has a lot of really good stuff. It's just that I can't be stacking up using an adding machine to run my Substack monthly receipt, scrolling out like a CVS receipt. It's just too much. So
that's a lot.
The paid ones were Snyder, which I signed up for a certain amount of time, and that's now ended. And it was nothing against him. There was a lot of good content in there and a lot of audio recordings and stuff to listen to and interactive Q&As. So it was nothing against him. It's just that I didn't think of renewing it after it expired. It was just more one of those things, you have a trial subscription to a streaming service and it ends and you just don't think of renewing it.
Yeah. Well, I think most of these, it's the ones that I think seem to have kind of blown up is you're getting exclusive variant covers, you're getting exclusive, video conference calls. I think Snyder does he's doing something in San Diego for members, so you're kind of invited a fan club thing more so than you're necessarily paying for their writing.
Yeah.
And again, some people I'm sure are, but Substack definitely have some challenges. Who knows? I haven't heard any big, like there was the first big round. I haven't really heard anyone else that's been one of the invited paid members. And year 2 and on, we're cutting close. We must be getting very close, right? So they got paid for a year. Year 2 and on is all on them.
Yeah.
So that'll be the big test. We've got to be right at it, right?
I think is it July, August?
It's got to be soon.
Yeah.
So that'll be a big. See who drops it, who keeps it going, because they're not getting like a second payment. They got a huge upfront payment for a year, and not getting that second payment. At least most of them, or any of them. So
I don't have that problem.
None of us do, unfortunately.
No, I don't have the problem of inbox filled with Substacks because I don't subscribe to any of it because I'm just like, why?
Yeah, no, no. The big one though is the I'd say like 1-2 punch, but it's like 5 or 6 punches of Oni Press this past week. So not only are they being not only are my entire thing just froze up here. Not only are they being sued, so they are being sued by let me see. I had all my notes here, and I've just completely lost them. So they published a book called Genderqueer, which has been one of the most like challenged books in America. All these psychopaths that are out there trying to ban books and shit. They have been sued by. Let's see if I can get all the correct names here. I had it. Okay, well, I'm going to switch to the other part of this while I pull up the right thing because I wanted to make sure I got all the right. I want to make sure I got all the right names here. 2 people did step down from, or sorry, let me rephrase this. 2 people have left Oni. We don't know why, and to the best of my knowledge, as of right now, we still don't know. As publisher James Lucas Jones, who had been there, who basically like founded the company, correct? Yep. And Charlie Chu, who was their executive VP of Creative and Business Development, who had been there for like 10 or 15 years. Basically, 2 of the senior people at Oni, out of nowhere, were due to personnel changes, quote unquote, by the parent company, the owner of Oni Press, Lionforge, their publishing group. It's a group called Polarity. I don't know anything about them. They had been basically just dismissed. Their last I checked as well, their like social media accounts were all kind of locked down. I don't think they were private before they were let go. I don't know what happened. They have like no one's talking about it, so it seems bad. Especially as they're about to celebrate their big 25th anniversary, right, at Comic-Con. So the lawsuit at the same time, there was a lawsuit in Virginia against their book for obscenity laws in Virginia is against the Oni and the creators of the creator of Genderqueer.
Is that filed in? I was just going to ask. I don't have it pulled up in front of me. That book is published by Lionforge, right? Which is a sub label. Is that right?
Yeah, Oni Press and Lionforge are now owned by the same parent company. They merged, and then that Polarity company, which whatever. Oni's parent company is called Oni Lionforge Publishing Group, which is a subsidiary of a larger group, Polarity. So Oni is a part of that. This same so at the same time, they're being sued by Republican Virginia Assembly Delegate Tim Anderson on behalf of failed Republican congressional candidate Tommy Altman, who sued Oni and Landforge and Polarity over this book, saying that that the content was obscene, that it violated an obscure state obscenity law. Now, more than likely, this case will go nowhere. There's nothing obscene about the book. Obscenity laws are pretty much non-existent in America these days.
Well, who knows? A lot of things are making a comeback.
Yeah. Sure.
Let's go to the book learning.
Woohoo! If you went to Anime Expo, you would have seen stuff significantly worse in every way, shape, or form. Now, I'm not saying obscene or not, like whatever. Do whatever you want, have fun, go party. But like,
if it does, as long as it doesn't hurt other people.
Exactly. I'm sure the intent here is to drum up support from crazy right-wing nut jobs, and look, we're banning more books. We're, whether it succeeds or not, it doesn't matter. It got them into the news. That's all they care about. The act is more important than the actual outcome. So it is just, it seems unlikely that these things are happening at the same time, but is just extremely bad timing. And then they also have got just slammed on social media while all this is going on by a number of people now claiming Oni has basically not paid them for their previous work, that they're way behind on contract, that they've just dropped a ton of books out of nowhere because they just, they're not getting royalty statements, they're not getting paid on time. So I don't know if that's just a bookkeeping thing or if that's actual money flow problems. Oni definitely feels like they've significantly reduced their output as a retailer. The last couple of years, Oni feels like they are not putting out very much. I do not have the numbers on that, but that is my feeling when going through the catalog, is there is very little by Oni Press every month, and Landforge. So it's a bad couple of weeks for Oni, and people involved. It's been a great company for as long as I've been behind the counter and a reader. They publish some great stuff. They've had some hits and misses recently. I feel like they're a little on the low on the output schedule, but they're still a quality comic book company. I would hate to see something go bad as far as the actual company itself, and don't want to see it close or people involved with it go out of business or lose their jobs, but also the creators, having one less place to bring their products to try to sell to a company. So hopefully Oni's okay. I don't really have
it's hard to talk when people's livelihoods are, what I mean? It's not like a publishing decision.
Yeah. Well, it's weird too. Like, is the lack of product a problem of the heads of Oni? So upper management wants new people in charge to be more proactive, or is it parent company has blown all their money and can't afford to pay anyone, so they're just starting to let everyone go, and all the interns are now going to run the company? Or is it something totally different and is just clash of conflict of just personalities? Or is it just completely unrelated to any of this? Is it because of the lawsuit? I mean, we have no idea, right? None of this. It's just kind of weird that all this is happening at the same time. And there's supposed to still be a Comic-Con. I don't know who's going to be there. I don't know who's doing the panels. I feel like if they had any press events, that's probably going to be canceled unless they're going to, what do you, it's going to be the only thing people are going to ask is, what's up with the lawsuit against genderqueer, and what's up with all the people getting let go? So, yeah, no good, Oni. What are you doing? And finally, again, if you guys have anything to say, Kevin or Brock? I'm not sure if you have any.
I mean, it's like Proud Boy groups going after the genderqueer book. It's like you already know, like, where that stands.
Oh, for that, yeah. Oh, these guys are, of course, right. They're just opportunistic scumbags, just jumping on the bandwagon to try to.
Well, it's
boost their.
It's they're trying to make propaganda for shit, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, well, for suing or for suing Oni for obscenity or for obscenity, they're basically like, look, if you elect us, we'll really go after him this time, even though like there's just no I shouldn't say there's no court in the land, but the thing is it's
like it's not like it's a civil thing; it's a criminal lawsuit,
right?
And so, like, they're trying to stir up all of this, hate mongering and all that stuff, and it's like, but yeah, then you flip over to what's going on at Oni as a company, and it's like, yeah, what the heck has been. Like, right?
Yeah, it's a weird set of events, and it feels like it feels like it has to be connected.
I mean, it probably is on some level,
but we don't know. It's too odd to have these things happen right at the same time. Our final comic, we have a couple of movie things to touch on here, but our final comic topic for the last couple of weeks, I always like to kind of be snarky about this type of stuff, but it's like you can't even be snarky at this point because
full on let it out. It out. No, I mean just rub the dog's face in that shit. Just we got the ICV2 and Comicron yearly comic industry numbers for 2021. So what they do is these guys every year, they take Bookscan and internal reports and Comic Hub and Diamond reporting, and they take as much data as they can get.
Right. They have other sources that they get info from. So this is all very, behind the scenes, kind of like NPD. It's a similar thing. It's internal reporting. They take all these numbers.
Ryan is saying all those key trigger words, all those trigger words of just like behind the scenes, like
they
have like quote unquote access, like all these
NPDs
are starting, man.
NPD is like my favorite company. So we have the numbers now, some pretty serious numbers for 2021. And that is
comic industry's dead, man.
A 60% growth in 2021 over 2020. Now you may say, well, that's the pandemic year. That was a 62% increase in sales in 2020 for US and Canada. This is total comic books and graphic novel sales. Hold on. Total comic and graphic novel sales to consumers in the US and Canada. $2.075 billion, a 62% increase over sales in 2020, which is also a 70% increase in sales from 2019. That's pre-pandemic. So sales went up 62% between 2020 and 2021, and that is, even higher than the numbers were in 2019, 70% higher than what they were in 2019. This is John Jackson Miller from Comicron. We mentioned him regularly. Publishers made more money selling comic content than in any year in the history of the business, even when adjusted for inflation. The biggest year in the modern era, 1993, saw sales around $1.6 billion in 2021 dollars. The product mix puts 2021 ahead of what the colossal circulations of the early 1950s brought in, also adjusted for inflation. Graphic novel sales up, comic book sales up, digital flat, newsstand down.
Digital's always pretty much.
Crowdfunding up. So comic book sales were up 60% versus 2020. Again, understandable. right? Because of the pandemic that a lot of stores suffered. I mean, that's what people would think. We understand that most comic stores actually did not have bad 2020s. Some did, but many did not. And it is 34% increase over 2019. Book channel sales, including book fairs, were up 81%. $1.47 billion in graphic novels were sold in the U.S. and Canada. $435 million worth of comic books and $170 million worth of digital sales. Again, I believe that does not count DC Universe and
Marvel United,
Marvel Unlimited and DC Universe. I believe that is just like Comixology and Amazon and other digital sellers where it's per unit book. Bookstores sold $1.165 billion in mostly graphic novels, obviously. Comic book stores, $705 million worth of product, $170 million in digital downloads, $35 million, that's estimate from newsstand, and crowdfunding. Obviously, crowdfunding is very big for independent comics now. And yeah, like, if you just look at the sales of graphic novels, now, obviously, a large part of graphic novels is led by manga. The manga in the last 5 years has boomed like no one can believe. Now, I have a couple. The argument's always single issues are dead. Okay, no, they're not. We are on a obviously, single issues went down in 2020 overall sales-wise because of the pandemic, because they weren't published for a number of months. But we are equal to we're about equal to 2016 as far as comic book sales, and that is basically a 4 years of growth as far as dollar amounts. You know, obviously down in 2020, but then right back up. Now increased over 2016, or at least matching 2016. So comic book sales, fine. Graphic novels, there's two parts of this that make sense of why you're seeing such increased sales. Manga, really, if you think about the way manga is released in America, it's smaller, cheaper collections, smaller page count, released in its first version. Its first version in English is a volume of manga. It's numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Most successful books are later repackaged in oversized compendiums, omnibuses, or box sets. Doesn't that pretty much make first run manga the single issues of manga, right? I mean, it's the same idea. It's the first time released. It's a numbered volume. It's the smaller format. It's the cheaper form. It's the cheapest format, right? It's the first time it's being sold. Comic book sales generally way outsell the number of graphic novels it's sold because they're released first in single issues. Now you get things like Watchmen and Dark Knight that obviously sell forever, but a lot of the way manga is packaged to Americans, this is the primary initial format of it. So to me, it's kind of the same idea as how the American single issue market is for Western comics, but also the idea that graphic novel sales are like so much higher than comic books. I mean, it just makes sense because you have a limited number of comic books released every month. And yes, some are reprinted, but for the vast majority, it's a one-off, right? Graphic novel sales is every book that's ever been published that's in print. So you go back to 2020, you go back to 2000, graphic novels almost weren't a thing. Marvel didn't make them hardly at all, right? They had various little ones here and there, but like it really wasn't until the early 2000s that graphic novels became like a thing in American comic books. The sales for graphic novels should, in theory, just be exponential year after year after year, because not only do you have whatever the biggest books of that year is, you have every biggest book ever forever before that, right? So this growth of graphic novel sales basically basically tripling its sales in 5 years from about 500 million to about 1.5 billion, it makes sense because there is so much product on the market and it's read by so many people. Now, there could be a point where it sort of levels off, where some stuff kind of dies off. Maybe some manga stuff doesn't quite work, but the amount of content out there is staggering, right? And you're only going to have so many Dogmen. You're only going to have so many Raina Telgemeier's. Something will take its place. Something won't. It won't. Like you're going to get your little ups and downs. But there's just so many books that have been released in manga, in the kids market, the Marvel and DC, Image. It's great that you have every available format, and manga is huge, and the kids comic market is huge, but the superhero stuff and Image, I mean, they're doing fine too. They sell a lot of books. This isn't like, oh, we sell a couple hundred. No, they are selling thousands and thousands and thousands of units as well. So it's up everywhere. Everything is up. So anyone that's like, oh, well, it's all manga. It's not all manga. It's not. $500 million in comic book sales is $500 million in comic book sales. That's just single issues. That's single issues to comic stores. That's not nothing. That's huge. That's a ton of books. Well, that's a ton of content.
I think it's also amazing that with the increase, especially with how big Scholastic's been in the graphic novel, and they didn't have book fairs like they normally did for a while.
Well, if you look at the growth from 2016, 17, 18, 19, like it's slow. Yeah. 2021 is just boom, because I think 2020 it really was just for availability. But obviously, some products back in the market, a lot of manga back in print, a lot of stuff from Marvel and DC back in print, and book fairs were back on. Whatever problems Scholastic was having fixed, all that stuff's back. So yeah. I expect we'll get some leveling out. I think that's just natural. There will be some course correction. Even at our store, like we're still doing incredibly, incredibly well. But I can feel like, okay, that just vertical climb up it's leveled, right? We're at a
we're going to plateau.
We've plateaued a little bit here in these sales, and I feel like that's pretty common. People are back out. Going out, doing stuff, conventions back up, vacationing, there's other stuff. The pandemic boom is going to level off at some point. But I would expect graphic novel sales to continue to climb regularly because there's just so much every year. That backlist just grows forever. Comic books really, there's like a couple hundred comics released, and it's never more. Graphic novels is never fewer. It's always more. Every month there's more available, more and more and more in the market, more available. So yeah, it's never going to, I should say it's never going to end. It is unlikely to, plummet in sales anytime soon.
Well, also you have I know back to the manga thing, but if you look at the popularity of manga before, wasn't it in the late 90s? There was early aughts, there was a really big push for manga.
Big boom, nothing like now, but yeah.
But you're looking at that time. We're now 20 years past that, so those are people that are having kids of their own, who have had kids of their own, or start maybe introducing their kids to something. So there's this, it's that growth thing, right? You're exposed to something, and then you expose this, and then
Oh, when we were kids, manga and anime barely existed, right? I mean, obviously some people knew about it, but very, very few people did. When we were teenagers, anime kind of had a bit of a renaissance, that kind of bigger renaissance, but the availability of manga was still very limited, and a lot of people didn't know the stuff was there. Early 2000s, you have Tokyo Pop, and they sort of reinvented everything, but there was just a glut of bad stuff, and it was a poorly run company, and the market, and it just didn't. It wasn't there. Crunchyroll, streaming, complete YouTube has Reddit, Instagram has completely changed the way people consume manga and anime, and that has led to it's not a weird fad it is a extremely successful, legitimate genre of extremely successful medium that will be here like for the foreseeable future, especially among younger audiences. So, and many of them will age up with it, and then, but when you look, I made this joke on Twitter. When I went to anime cons in like the 90s, everyone was the same age. When I went to the anime cons in the mid 2000s, it was like they're still all teenagers. And you look now, it's still all teenagers in 2022, and you feel like I feel like I'm a million years old when I was looking at stuff from AX. But it's right. It's that generation, that group is going to be the most interested in this. And yeah, many people like us will grow up with it and continue to be interested. But yeah, it's a big audience, and it's growing bigger every year. So yeah, it's and again, these are products made by American or Western arms of Japanese companies, but they are marketed to American kids, sold to American kids, bought by American kids for American dollars, and money goes to American companies. Like,
you know what? They're grooming them. They're grooming them.
These are they are from Japan, but these are American comic book sales.
So how soon do you think lawsuits against manga companies will start?
Oh God, I mean, they've happened, right? I mean, this has happened. There were people that were like they were caught bringing over like hentai, like I think from like Canada a number of years back. The Comic Legal Defense Fund stepped in on that. I mean, I kind of think that's why that genderqueer thing will mostly get laughed out of court, because it's nothing. It's just it's like a kid's comic. Like all of it. If you want to go after, like, oh, this is obscene stuff. I mean, there's hardcore pornography in manga and anime, and that's being consumed widely by children. Like, I don't care. Like, so good on you. But
the funny part is,
people wanted to make a case of it.
Has Crossed ever gotten like lawsuit like that shit?
Well, what was Kevin? You probably have a better memory than me on this. Was it Faust? Was that what their Comic Legal Defense Fund was originally kind of set up to help the store?
Yeah,
I think it's Faust.
I think
right.
Wow, God, I haven't thought about this in forever, man.
It was a comic store in Texas got basically arrested for selling pornography. Like what the cop said was pornography to children, but he sold an adult comic to an adult that was clearly marked as an adult comic book. And so
this is like the mid 80s, I want to say.
Is when this something started. Like that. Yeah. So it would not surprise me if God help me if some Republican finds out that manga exists.
Oh, okay, here we go.
Be a fight.
I went to our friend Wikipedia just to confirm this. 86 was the year. Friendly Frank's Comic Shop. The comic books deemed obscene were Omaha the Cat Dancer. Oh my God, speaking of things I haven't thought about in decades. Yeah. The Bodyssey, I don't even know what that is. Weirdo and Bizarre Sex.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean those are, especially Omaha, that very popular 80s alternative underground, adult comic. So super, super popular. Yeah, it's good luck, guys.
But,
I don't know.
But we got to keep mouse out of schools.
Yeah.
I've actually seen copies of Faust like in person, and I'm like,
oh yeah, we get them all the time.
Okay, yeah. Like, I'm like, all right, like it's there. It's
I only because I did the mistake. I read the comments on the beat on this Comics Beat article that I'm quoting from here.
About what?
Well, just comic shop sales were up 60% versus last year and 34% versus 2019. Okay, very first comment. So the growth was mainly in bookstores, not comic shops, and in trades and OGNs, not single issues. What does that say about the DM in the long run? Yes. The growth in the industry was significant, but not for Marvel and DC, which saw a significant decline due to unappealing nature of their output. Dying comic shops. Like, look, I understand this is the game.
Hey, math you just is hard, lie. Okay? It's hard.
You just lie. You just say the exact opposite of what's really going on to try to convince people that don't know any better, right? I understand, but for fuck's sake, it's literally like the first note in this article is the growth of comic book store sales. It's so sad.
Hey, don't forget, so Ryan, sad. Don't forget, if worse comes to worse, we know the exact person who can take over and save DC. And it's nobody on this podcast.
Or that will ever be on this podcast.
Well, come on now. We can dream. That should be on the New Year's poll.
If Bryce can arm wrestle
Capullo.
Greg Capullo.
Oh, God.
So comic book sales are fantastic in 2021, and I expect 2022. I would think it'll settle down. I don't think we're going to see another 70 or 80% growth. I would think growth would be minimal. 10% would be incredible, right? It might be 20, it might be 30. I don't know, but I think it'll kind of be a little calmer. 2022 should be a little calmer at the end of the day, but it's going to be good. So yeah, people need to sit and spin because it's just so frustrating dealing with that. Kevin, we're going to hit up a couple quick...
I will say my good nights.
Good nights,
we are going to plan for Thor Love and Thunder talk on Tuesday if you're around.
Yep, done.
Okay. I'm trying to get Toby to commit to Sunday.
Well,
but he's not sure if he's going to be able to see the movie.
We can hash this out on air now, or I'm sure I'll talk to you again before that date comes around, so we can just save it for that.
We will get your popcorn.
Yep.
Get your
As
shoes
the number
ready.
one fan of Ragnarok on this podcast, I am legitimately looking forward to this. So we'll see what happens.
Good night, Kevin.
Right.
Good night.
And with just two couple quick movie TV things here to talk about here, and then we'll let you guys go. Nice little quick episode. No questions, no nothing like that. I didn't prep anything else. So. These Tuesday podcasts, I'm tired. Long
I did look up that Substack thing, though.
What about it?
It was 2019 is when they started that Substack Pro. Or sorry, March of 2021 is when they started the Substack Pro. So
is that when Tynion announced?
I'm guessing that's when Tynion announced. Because
Pro was around. The comic thing was a part of that. It wasn't the whole thing. I don't think it was that early.
Yeah.
When did he start? No, it was August. I have a Polygon article here from August 9th. Batman writer James Tynion step away from DC to start Indie Comic Line to Substack. So we're coming up on a year. Yeah. So they started this with the journalists and other people. The comic book one was a little bit later. Yeah. So yeah, we're coming up on a year.
But what that thing we were talking about is Substack Pro.
Right. Those are the people that get to run the subscriptions and everything like that. So we'll see. August, we'll see who's still doing it in September.
The best way to deal with Substack is not to deal with Substack.
Yeah. So a couple quick movie things here. So Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. Spoilers, obviously, at this point. I mean, whatever. It was a million years ago.
It's already streaming on Disney Plus, so we're.
I know. John Krasinski played Mr. Fantastic briefly before being eviscerated by the Scarlet Witch in the alternate universe, and there were comments made by Sam Raimi that a lot of people are taking as whoever we get is Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four movie coming up in by 2024 or whatever is not going to be John Krasinski. He said it's so funny that Marvel that Kevin Feige cast John because the fans had a dream of who was the perfect Reed Richards or who the perfect Reed Richards would be, and because this is an alternate universe, I think he said let's make that dream come true. I've always enjoyed all of his performances. You know, I kind of I just sort of assumed, well, they cast him, but he's going to be, it's another universe, but the people are the same. Like, he's going to be Reed Richards in a new FF movie. But then you look at like Loki and some of the other things, and you're like, oh, maybe he's not. I like him, but it is that's a big ask. He's doing a lot of directing. He's doing other stuff now. He just might not be interested in acting for a decade. In 15 movies, right? Yeah. So I think people got to really temper their expectations for FF casting, and it's probably not going to be him. Which I'm actually a little disappointed because I think he's perfect. He's great. Obviously, a big fan of The Office, and I think he looks. Boy, whatever problems I have with some Marvel movies as far as like plots and stories go, fuck, they just nail the characters every single time. Mm-hmm. Everyone is, nearly every single actor is absolutely perfect in the role. They're dead on, just personality wise and look wise and everything.
Oh, so, I could give
a little personality wise, but look wise,
they do the best typecasting, basically. I'm not trying to be a dick in saying it, but you like Robert Downey Jr. started it. Like with just right, like who in Hollywood is almost exactly like Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah,
right, like I think that's what they go with, right? Who is like this person?
Well, they're all right. Yeah, all of them are. There's almost nobody that I'm like, man, they really missed a mark. There's nothing like the character. They've altered characters, but there's no one they've cast where I've been like,
even when they replaced what's his name, Cuba, right? Or no, who they replaced? They replaced Don Cheadle.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, what's his name?
The guy that played Rudy first. Yeah, I'm blanking on his name. I know who you're talking about.
Right, like that. Even you watch the first one, you're like, okay, but then Cheadle comes in, he plays the character perfect. You're like, well,
Terrence Howard.
Yeah, Terrence Howard.
Yeah, Don Cheadle. I'm just. Yeah.
His role was a bit off. It was still okay. Yeah. But
no, he's good. He's good.
When they replaced him with Don Cheadle, you're like, but I've already got. Oh wait, Don Cheadle's better.
Yeah, I probably would have stuck with Terrence Howard just for
consistency,
physical body, just build. James Rhodes he's a bigger guy, like so. But I'm not a problem either way, really. Yeah. Doctor Strange. We'll see what happens. And finally, talk about not being the right thing. Where alternate realities are screwing everything up here. We can all but confirm the death of the CW Arrowverse as Superman and Lois. Now, I'm not no spoilers for the finale or anything like that. Actually, I haven't watched the finale. I'm a couple episodes back. However, in the final episode of the season of Superman and Lois, they confirmed that this show does not take place in the Arrowverse. This is not the same Superman and Lois and Diggle, for that matter, that are in the
Arrow
Crisis crossover and showed up in Supergirl and all that. So
this is another universe outside of that. Where they use the same actors to play those characters.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? Alternate reality. So they look the same. They're the same people. Things are different. Yeah. Superman is the only hero on this earth. There are no others. And I'm going to assume that now, despite being part of Crisis, right? We already knew Stargirl is not part of the Arrowverse as far as like, it is Earth 2, right? I believe did they call it Earth? I believe that was Earth 2, right?
I don't remember.
Because they had it in the Crisis, like the little thing where they were showing all the universes. I'm pretty sure.
I think they were just having fun with those, right? Because they had like the 89 verse, right? But I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they because that would, I mean, Justice Society's Earth 2. I'm pretty confident that the Stargirl show universe is Earth 2. So yeah, I guess that's the Arrowverse. It's Flash, and that's it. And Flash is going to be canceled next season. So, what a ride it's been. We'll memorialize after next season of Flash. I will definitely want to do like a.
Do I have to watch?
Maybe,
all of it?
No,
okay.
you have to watch. No, you don't have to watch anything. We should. 10, 11, 12 years, 13 years, 12 years, 13 years. Arrow was like 2011, I think. So it'll be 20. Flash should be next year. That should be the last season. So, yeah, it's been a long time.
2012.
Is it 2012? Okay, so it'll be 11
10 years.
11 years, 11 years, 12 years.
No, 10 years. 2022.
Well, but still one more season.
One more season of Flash. Okay.
Yeah. So there we go. That's it. Yep. End of an era. End of CW Arrowverse. CW verse. Yeah, it's Arrowverse. Just call it Arrowverse.
Well, no, because we don't know if the Gotham from that Gotham Knight show is going to be in the Arrowverse.
No. That's its own thing.
It's its own. Its own steaming, blowing itself up.
God, I forgot that show existed. Ugh. No. Such garbage. Such garbage.
But didn't you always want a Riverdale Gotham? Like,
I mean, sure, but I don't want that. Like, that's bad. That's bad. I'll watch it though. I'll watch the first episode. We'll see what happens. But I have no faith. No faith.
I don't have any faith in it. I watched that trailer. I was like, yeah.
Oh, it's super bad. It's super bad. Okay. That's it.
Do we don't have any lists?
It's a wonderful episode of the Comic Experience Podcast. We'll be back next week for Thor Love and Thunder talk sometime. I got to wrangle all these cats together and try to figure out when we're going to record. Maybe I'll see if I can get Scott on here too.
Scott will watch it like at 10 a.m. on Friday.
Yeah, well, I figure I got to have someone on here that might like it. So,
no,
we'll see.
You're preemptively saying you're not going to like it.
I watched the last one. I mean, look, I'm going in with no expectations. I'm going in with extremely low expectations. Yeah. I'm expecting it to suck ass. Yeah. So maybe it'll be okay. Like, maybe it'll be like, yeah, it's fine. It's totally normal, acceptable, fine MCU stuff. The reviews have been not great for an MCU product, especially how well received Ragnarok was. So reviews dropped yesterday or today. And I never read them, but I see some of the headlines and they're a little not as good as I think people would have assumed.
So things like, from just what I've seen, like trailer wise, like things that have come out for this movie beforehand, and this is just from like the trail, like from when the trailer first dropped, right? Okay, so you're bringing back a whole slew of characters from Ragnarok that, honestly, I don't give two shits about, right? I haven't been the biggest fan of Chris Hemsworth Thor in a while, just because of what Ragnarok gave us. So I wasn't looking forward to it. And then you have the kind of controversy with, look, we literally ripped off artwork from the comic book to put in the backgrounds of our movie, right? With the stuff that from Jason Aaron, was it Hassan Rubik?
Hassan Rubik, from
you're pulling it straight from there, and it's like they didn't get paid any extra shit for that. Not to mention, it's like you're taking what is probably the best Thor run, like modern Thor run, the Jason Aaron one, and it looks like you're trying to cram most of that story arc, or like 2 chunks of that story arc into one movie.
I mean, it feels like they're taking one. I mean, they're taking gore. I don't think they're taking any other part of it.
What?
You talking about Ragnarok?
No, I'm talking about Love and Thunder.
Or Love and Thunder, I mean. Sorry.
Yeah, no, they're taking...
They're using gore.
They're using gore, but they're also using Jane Foster Thor.
It's all part of the same.
Yeah, but it's like it's story, 2 parts of the story. Like, she wasn't around for the gore stuff. Like, this was something that came afterwards.
Yeah.
And so it's like I have a, like, for me, it's just I have a bad feeling that there's going to be a lot of stuff crammed into this movie, and it's not going to deliver what I got from the Jason Aaron run.
Well, no, I don't expect it will, because it's a movie trying to cram 2 hours what they do in
5 years.
Yeah, 100 issues. No, they're going to take they're going to take a little bit of it, but they're going to take a little bit of it and do whatever they want with the rest. So, which is I never would have expected anything else.
I'm my guess is gore is going to be amazing and everything else is going to be shit.
I don't know. We'll see. I like all of them. I'm usually somewhat hopeful. Yeah,
maybe we're at
if everyone else hates it, maybe I'll like it.
Maybe we're at the point where we're just going to have to accept that not all Marvel movies are going to be made for us, and it's okay that we don't watch some of them.
I accepted that a long time ago.
But why do we still watch them?
Well, I watch them because I do a podcast and have to talk to customers about it.
That's right.
Whether I like it or not. You don't have to watch it. You
No, I do. I podcast with you and I talk to customers.
Sure. And on that note, we are going to end. We'll be back next week to talk Love and Thunder. Thank you all, top tier backers: Joe Duff, Kelsey May, Craig Anderson at ClearPath Coaches, Jimmy Rivera at the Social Forum Podcast, and Talon Bray. Thank you all for your wonderful support. Please check out comicconspiracypodcast.com and Apple Podcasts for all our previous episodes. Go to patreon.com/comicconspiracy and kick us a couple bucks. You can head over to the store's website, Comics Conspiracy, comics with an S, and .biz, but just look up Comics Conspiracy. It'll be the only thing that shows up. No,
the other place on the East Coast shows up.
That's Conspiracy Comics. A little different. Go to conspiratorock.com. It's Brock's blog, pull list, unboxing videos, and other stuff whenever it gets a chance.
Yeah, we'll see.
Wanders in the Fourth Dimension podcast. It's Charlie's Doctor Who podcast. Weekly interview series called Between the Panels at Fanbase Press. That is Kevin Sharp's weekly interview series.
And it's not Substack, right?
It's not, no. And my wife Leanne has a website, leannehill.com. You can see her artwork at etsy.com/shop/LeanneHillArt. You can pick up prints of her there. And follow us all on Twitter. Ryan Higgins, Ryan, that is me. Brock is Brock Sager. Toby is Toby XI. Charlie is Insanity and Chaos. I'll try to get Charlie on too for next week. Kevin is that Kevin Sharp, and the store is Comics Con Store. And check out Geekbox, which should have a new episode next week. What the hell are we talking about? I have no idea.
Some video game stuff.
About last week? I think I just complained about Stranger Things and Kate Bush.
Why did you complain about Stranger Things and Kate Bush?
And check out our friends over at Manga Machinations, because they talk about manga anime. There's probably a bunch of cool stuff announced at AX that they'll talk about, like the new Chainsaw Man. All right, that's it. I got nothing else. Goodbye.